welcome to the Museum Roadshow. We're out at Riverside Resort, where Sally Olson Chuck and Ellen Olson Gilbert are going to share with us some memories about running Riverside Resort, which is on the south side of Lake Melissa.
One of the fun things about the resort through the years, both when Harold and Aletha, our folks, ran it, and then when Ellen and Orlo ran it, is there was always a lot of extra fun things to do. For instance, when our parents had it, our dad was a very creative guy, and so he rigged up a cart for a St. Bernard that he had called Wee Willie of Riverside, and he would give rides to the children of the resort, Willie rides all up and down the hill here and down by the resort. And then he also would hitch up. We have still two of the original buggies from the great-grandparents and our grandparents. He'd hitch that up with our horses, and off they'd go and take not only horseback rides, but carriage rides. And we had an old Model T, and he'd hightail it around here with the Model T, going through the fields and lickety-split. Oh, it was crazy, and of course it was well before the lawsuit craze, and so fortunately we got by with it without any mortal injuries, but it was a lot of fun. And then when Ellen Orlo took over, Orlo has many classic cars and trucks and tractors, but one of them is a John Deere, and he would bring hitch it up to a wagon and put lawn chairs on that wagon, and off we'd go with the resorters and family and go around the lake, and oh, it was lots of fun. And of course teaching the kids water skiing down by the lake, and and then lots of horseback rides. It was a lot of fun. And one summer I said to my mother, I was about 11, I said, "Mother, I want to go to summer camp." And she said to me, "Sally, you are at summer camp." So I got told, but it was true, I just didn't realize it.
One thing our parents I guess didn't realize, that we were stuck every weekend cleaning cottages all through our childhood. And so we thought getting to go to the Water Carnival Parade or the Fair Parade or whatever was really something special, but we never really could participate because we were busy cleaning the cottages and getting ready for the next customers. So our folks always thought that we didn't really need extracurricular activity when we had the resort and the farm.
That's right. I think to this day, and I'm 66, I've been to 2 water carnival parades. And many people in the South, where we live in the winter, say, "Well, haven't you been to Ely?" I said, "I've never been to Ely," because believe us, there was never a moment to go traveling in the summer when we were here with the resort. There was always some, plumbing issue or somebody renting a motor or some such thing, and that was fine, but it was not a life where you had a lot of freedom to leave the property. Boy, I'll tell you, Sunday morning, that was the day we cleaned. It was busy, and Daddy would rush up from down by the resort and say, "Girls, get going with those buckets, because number 4's they're gone." And off we'd run with the car and the buckets flying, and boy, we'd scurry around, and then pretty soon he'd say, "Okay, now number 1's available, get on over there." So it kept us hopping. And then in between, of course, during the week, we'd mow the lawns, and of course the upkeep of the beach was part of the Sunday cleaning too, the raking of the beach and making sure the boats were clean and the oars were there and not broken up and all of that.
When the resort started, there was no electricity here. In fact, my parents didn't get electricity until 1948, when my dad and neighbors helped put up the poles for REA. That's the only way we got electricity. So the resort was run for at least 10 years without electricity, and I can remember that was part of the Sunday work, was cleaning the lanterns and filling them up. And of course, all the cottages had outhouses and no inside bathroom, and that all was changed through the years, and everything, as they call it, became modern. And but that was another whole thing that people don't realize, that we did start without electricity, and we are some of the very last people to get electricity around here. Also, at the beginning, my mother's father worked for the Maytag Washing Machine Company in Newton, Iowa. We were very proud of that. And my mother had a Maytag washing machine with a gasoline engine. our motor. And that's how she started out doing all the laundry. And of course, nobody had sheet service in those days, so she did all of the laundry in that Maytag motorized wash machine, and we hung everything up on the line, and then took everything down and folded it. And then my mother had a process where she had everything organized for every cottage. For instance, cottage 1 had 4 beds, and cottage 5 had this kind of so many beds. She'd have all organized with a little slip of paper that said for what cottage. And so you had to be quite organized to run a resort. And both Sally and I have been in management in our careers, and I think those skills did help us both in dealing with other people and organizing big projects.
And to this day, I have some sheets down at the cottage, and I'm sure you do too. They have Mother's handwriting, queen size, you know, guest house, or queen size cottage 2. So we still have the evidence of that. She was highly organized, and that was essential to getting all this work done.
And the other big fun thing to do in the spring was to go with Mother to J.C. Penney's, because they had such beautiful linen, and pick out some new sheets for the cottages or new bedspreads. Those were always thrilling for all of us in the family. Mother was so tickled when she'd be able to get some new linen for the cottages.
And then one other thing I'd like to mention about the farm and its connection with the resort. Daddy and Mother always, not usually, had a huge, wonderful garden. And so what they would do is, of course, there was always more than we could eat as a family. So they'd get the woody out, put the back down, and load up some bushel baskets of vegetables, and then go down to the resort and just give them out to the different patrons. And some of our former patrons down at the resort, that lived down near El Norlo at the old resort area, they still remember the green beans and the various vegetables that the folks would give away, and they just thought that was such a wonderful gesture. So that was another nice part about being here on Lake Melissa and on the farm.
One of the things too that the resort did was give a lot of the young folks in this area work in the summer. Helping us clean cottages, my folks used a lot of the young girls around, teenagers, and they always had a live-in or a live-in young man who would help my dad with the outside work. And out of the Keene family, who's pretty well known in this area, I think they have 13 children. I think 6 of those children at some time worked for our parents.
Yeah.
And our parents would drive them clear across town to go get them, and then to take them home, and my mother always fed them a big meal on Sunday evening when they were done working. And Mike Keene says that's the one thing that he remembers to this day is the delicious meal my mother could put together for all those kids who were working at the resort.
Yes, and after a full day of work with the cleaning. And Mike and Dan and Sharon, and I'm sure I'm leaving
Karen.
Karen, and anyway, those they're the Keene family. And then Tom Hansen, who owns Zorba's, he worked for us for a couple of summers. And
Stenskard boys.
And the Stenskard boys, Mark Stenskard worked for him. And so it's just a neat story about the community, and as you said, putting the young people, giving them something really worthwhile to work on. And